and there was someone in to sit down, so I went in the one next door because there was a hole in the wall that you could look through, and I looked through and he was showing me what he had to play about with. And 1 minute later the doors were kicked open and 4 detectives grabbed us, dragged us out, got us into a police car and took us to the police station. And I refused to make any statement of any kind. And eventually I was charged with committing an act of gross indecency, which, to make life simpler, I simply pleaded guilty. Although there was nothing gross and precious little indecent happened, we weren't given the opportunity. But I couldn't explain that to the magistrates, and I was fined £25 and £5 costs. So I have a criminal record of committing an act of gross indecency 40 years ago.
While there may be nothing bad in being homosexual, there is certainly nothing good. Lest the opponents of the bill think that a new freedom or new privileged class has been created, let me remind them that no amount of legislation will prevent homosexuals from being the subject of dislike, derision, or at best, pity.
My name's Joshua Val Martin, and I'm the writer of Great Indecencies. Quite important that I'm the writer rather than the maker or the creator. I mean, like with any play, Great Indecencies was made collaboratively, but particularly in this instance because the play is based on oral histories that have been created over the last 12 months or so. Those oral histories were made collaboratively between the interviewers, mostly younger gay men, and the interviewees, mostly older gay men who lived through the beginnings of decriminalisation of homosexuality in 1967. When they were asked what was it like to come of age as homosexuality began to be decriminalised. It was therefore really important to me that every plot twist and turn of phrase within the play somehow came from those oral histories and really honoured the stories that we'd heard. This play had been written many times in years before we arrived, but I'd just been waiting to be told.
We should record the stories before they disappear.
You have a funny way of telling me I'll be dead soon.
For future generations of queers.
Oh, will you stop saying that word in my house? What is it you really want, Ryan?
I swear down. We chat. And then at the end of it all, if you're not interested, keep the recorder. You can keep it. I just want to talk.
History. I can barely remember last week.
No, we weren't half-hard saucing cock back then. But even in our clogs and through all the fog, we weren't through.
I remember news bulletins about the Wolfenden report, and then, of course, the Act was passed. But I was growing up, I knew by that time I was gay, and I knew that it was something you didn't talk about. It was something you should feel ashamed of.
My mum used to cut his hair.
Who?
George Best.
Who?
Who? Is it ours? Is it real? What do you think it is?
Bloody tennis.
In colour.
In the
Oh,
armed
colour
and
don't
civil
look out the
services
window.
alone,
Oh, we're watching
there must be
that.
hundreds, no, thousands of
When have
homosexuals.
you been interested in tennis?
If they were all to leave their jobs at once, it's likely that the economy would
Watch
be
the
in tatters.
news. It's good for you.
Currently, they are stuck between a life of abstinence or risk spending at least a couple of years behind bars.
We're sitting squashed on carpet rollers my dad brought back from the factory.
United! United! United!
Watching the football in colour on the 12-inch with every stinking lad on the street rubbing up to me. Let me tell you, that leaves its mark on the 14-year-old.
I'm a homosexual.
No, you are not. Let's get one thing clear, shall we? One cannot be a homosexual, not until one has engaged in homosexual acts. Do you follow?
Yes. Yes, I suppose that makes sense.
Your brain has been corrupted. It's usually a consequence of environmental factors. Am I to guess correctly that your father was perhaps distant?
Well, he lived through the Depression and the World War, but distant? No, I don't think so.
And you have an overbearing mother?
What do you mean by that?
She takes an overactive interest in your private life.
You're making him unlikable.
Today, you're going to be anaesthetised, and we will send electric charges through your brain, which should fix the crimps you have.
I went metal, lad, and decided I was going to have more than sex. I fell in love.
Was admitted into hospital, had electroconvulsive therapy, and when I came out, I realised I had to get on with life. And it wasn't 2 years later I realised I was bisexual, because I never heard of the word bisexual. I was rather naive in those days. I hadn't heard me. Parents never spoke about anything to do with sex or anything like that. And I didn't have any friends, so it was tough. It was really, really tough.
It's about 8:30 when they arrive at the cottage. There's one other guy here. Can't see what he's like from behind. I stand at a urinal a little way off from him. Another guy comes in and goes into a stall on the other corner. The sound of unzipping fly and running water. He soon goes. Doesn't seem to notice us. He never seemed to. Glance in the first guy's direction. He's still here. About 35, muscular, short blonde hair. He looks in my direction. I look back. He comes over. Do I have a place? I live with other people. Do I want to go for a drive? I shake my head and leave. I pop back in just after 9. There's 2 already in. There's this young queen down the other side. A couple of years younger than me, maybe. She's down one end of the urinals, Trade in the middle. Tall. A little older, 30 maybe. Proper jeans, beard. Nice. I start to masturbate. Tray 10 so I can see. Oh. I move 1 urinal closer. The young queen also moves 1 urinal closer in our direction, which prompts the tray to swiftly zip up and bug it off. I was livid. But then she says something to me no one ever had in a cottage before, with a sort of young innocence.
What's your name?
The young queen told me his name.
I'm Leonard.
I was living in Oxford at the time, and it was 3 a.m, so there was nobody around. I was in the notorious cottage in the centre of Oxford, and there was this other chap there who turned out to be a policeman. So he arrested me, put me in handcuffs, walked me through the centre of Oxford at 3 a.m. to the police station. Some years later, Entrapment, as it was called, was banned. But I have 2 criminal convictions. And the recent quashing of historical sexual offence convictions doesn't apply to anything that happened in a public lavatory.
Please, go back once for me. I've seen a lot. I know what lads go through, what they think about. You need it ironing out before it's too late.
I know that's how it feels for you, Mum, but I can tell
Then
you for me that...
Don't think of yourself but the family. You don't want me going to work with people talking. Not to mention your wee sister starting school.
Oh, okay,
I promise I'll think about it.
I can't have you just think about it. Leonard, you're down saying if you don't stop seeing that old man, that
He's 25!
and you're a child. If you're so grown up and don't need any help, well then, it's time you found somewhere of your own to live.
See, as far as my memory is concerned, it was only ever summer when I was with him. Every conversation seemingly accompanied by an orchestra. It'd make a cigarette flick look like a dance. Fucking hell, man, your dad was colour television. But you can't go on looking because there's nothing there.
There's nothing you can think of.
You said yourself, your mum is honest.
She was cruel too. She could be. So just maybe.
It's the plain, unpleasant truth of it. Loads of them couldn't handle it in the end. They took their own lives. Somehow believing the world a bit better off without them.
So sorry, Len. I wish I was as brave as you.
It's fucking stupid.
I did want to tell him what happened.
I'll believe it.
That you didn't even look at him, never mind made any sort of advance. That he was about to attack us. You worked so hard to get that job.
Well, I can still go back to teaching.
Who'll have you?
I'll tutor.
You did nothing but pick up my hand.
Nothing. I did everything. I did go to the Liverpool Pride. I did wear that big badge all around town saying, yes, I'm homosexual too. I did take you back to my room in that shared accommodation. I did find sex in toilets and bathhouses and cinemas and parks. I did give my number to boys in pubs. I did have sex with men under the age of 21. And I did hold your hand, Bobby. I held your hand in full display where that drunk could see. You might not have, but I did it all, and so I'm here.
What about you?
Well, I'm going wherever you are, when you're single. Actually, though, I'm thinking a cottage.
Of course you are.
No, a proper, real, actual cottage for two. That is, if you're ever going to see me again.
Aren't we past that?
No, we get snapped at.
No touching, thank you. The licence makes us too much money. Oh, they don't bribe the police like the other pubs do.
Mind you, I was only 19. We were criminals. And then after that, she has the cheek to say, gentlemen, there's one more song before bottoms up. So, oh, fuck it. If you're lucky enough to have a partner, enjoy yourselves while you're still
In the gay bars, you met everyone. The lord of the manor was stood on one side of you, and the dustbin collector or the window cleaner was stood on the other side of you, and we all talked together and went off with each other. And there was no class about it at all. We were all gay. And that's what brought us there. So we shared one thing in common, that we were gay, and therefore we all had a bloody good time.